Hello everyone. Today our topic is frequency management and channel assignment, an important topic in Unit 4. Here what is meant by frequency management? Frequency management is frequency management is to divide the total number of available channels into setup channels and voice channels. It means the total number of channels which are available for communications are divided into setup channels and voice channels. So before starting this topic, you have to know what is meant by setup channels and what is meant by voice channels. So voice channel means the channels which are related for communication between the two customers for voice communication. This you had an idea about voice channels. Then what is meant by setup channel? Here setup channels means what the setup channels will do means before we initiate a call, before we initiate a call, the setup channels will scan the all the channels, all the voice channels. The setup channels, what it does means it scans all the voice channels which are idle, and this this selects the setup channel selects the idle, which are the voice channels which are idle, and it allocates the communication path between the two customers. It means the setup channels are also called as control channels. So whenever a customer who wants to initiate a call must scan all the channels and finds an ideal one to use. So this is the setup channel it does. So finally the setup channel means when a call is initiated, it scans for the ideal voice channels and it selects one of the ideal voice channels and it allocates for the communication. This is about setup channel, and you already know that what is meant by voice channels. So here frequency management is we will divide the total number of available channels into setup channels and voice channels. How we will divide? We will divide by numbering the channels. So the total number of available channels are first given the numbering. First they are given the numbers to the channels. So first we will do the numbering to the channels, and finally after numbering the channels we will group. The second step is we will group the channels into voice channels and subsets, and finally grouping the voice channels into subsets. So finally here frequency management means it is to divide the total number of channels into setup channels and voice channels. So first step we will do the numbering to the total available channels. We will do the numbering to total available channels, and after doing the numbering we will group the voice channels into subsets. Clear? This numbering and grouping of channels is done by FCC, that is Federal Communication Commission. This numbering and grouping. So finally in frequency management what we are doing, the total number of available channels are divided into or managed into numbering and grouping of channels. So first step we will number the channels, the total available number of channels we will do the numbering, and later we will group the channels into subsets. You already know what is meant by subsets. Subsets means the set of voice channels are again subdivided or are again divided into subsets. This is about frequency management. And channel assignment refers to the allocation of specific channels to cell sites and mobile units. Specific channels. So during a call, a particular channel is assigned to a mobile unit on a short-term basis, and this channel assignment per call is handled by MTSO. This you can understand. Channel assignment means nothing but a channel is assigned to a mobile unit on a short-term basis, which is controlled by MTSO. Now we are coming to the main part, that is numbering the channels. So initially when we started this topic frequency management, first point we had discussed is the first step we will number the channels. We will number the total number of available channels, we will give the numbering. So I am coming to the first step, that is numbering the channels. So how many available channels are there? That is the question mark. So coming to the first point, the total number of channels here we are taking in January 1988. In January 1988, the total number of channels available are 832. In this 832, the most mobile units are operating on 666 channels. So here I am getting the total number of available channels are 666. Now according to the frequency management concept, I will divide I will divide this 666 number of channels. I will manage this 666 number of channels into numbering and then I will group them. So how I will give the numbers to these channels. So initially these 666 operating channels are divided into two blocks, that is block A and block B. So if I divide into block A and block B, these 666 channels, each block will get half of the channels, that is 666 by 2. So block A will get 333 channels and block B will get 333 channels. So the total number of available channels, that is 666 channels, are first divided into block A and block B, in which block A is having 333 channels and block B is having 333 channels. See here I had drawn mapping, that is 666 channels. Block A containing 333 channels, block B containing 333 channels. Now based on the type of the channels, so here this is the important point. Based on the type of channels, I am dividing these 666 channels into 42 setup channels and 624 voice channels. See from these 666 channels, I am collecting, I am separating 42 for setup channels. So subtract from 666, subtract 42. What? How much you will get? 624. So remaining 624 for voice channels. So the total number of 666 channels I am dividing into 42 setup channels and 624 voice channels. What the setup channels will do? I had already told you. The setup channels first when a call is initiated, the setup channels what they will do? They will scan the channels, the voice channels which are idle. They will scan for the voice channels which are idle, and the idle voice channels are allocated for the communication. This is the work done by the setup channels. So these 666 channels are divided into 42 setup channels and 624 voice channels. So these 42 setup channels again divided into 21 and 21. So we had already divided, you know that we had already divided into block A and block B. So for these 42 setup channels, I will divide it into half. That is 21 setup channels for block A, 21 setup channels for block B. And I will also divide this to 24 voice channels into half, that is 312 and 312. So I will give 312 voice channels to block A and 312 voice channels to block B. So finally 666 available channels, total available channels are divided into 333, block A 333 channels, block B 333 channels. In these 333 channels, 21 are given for setup channels. 21 are given for setup channels in block A, and 21 are given for setup channels for block B. 21, that is 42 setup channels are given for block. In 42 setup channels, 21 setup channels are given for block A and 21 setup channels are given for block B. And remaining 624 voice channels, in this 312 voice channels are given for block A and 312 voice channels are given for block B. This is how I had divided the total number of 666 channels into block A and block B containing 333 channels. In the 333, 21 are setup channels and 312 are voice channels. And in block B, a total of 333 channels having 21 setup channels and 312 voice channels. So finally, the numbering of channels is done as follows. That is 1 to 312. First channel to 312 channels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 312. They are assigned for voice channels in block A. Voice channels for block A. And remaining 313 to 333. They are assigned for setup channels. See, in block A I am having total number of 333 channels. Clear? In block A, I am having 333 channels. In these 333 channels, 1 to 1 to 312 are given for voice channels, and remaining 21, that is 313 to 333, 21 are given for setup channels. Coming to block B. In block B, first I will assign setup channels, that is 334 to 354, that is 21, 334, 335, 336 up to 354, that is 21 channels are given for setup channels, and remaining 355 to 666, last number given for block B voice channels. This is how I had numbered the channels into voice channels and setup channels. This you can see in the frequency management chart. So once come to frequency management chart, I will show you. This is frequency management chart. In this frequency management chart, see this first part. This first part is block A, and this is block B. In block A, see I had told you 1 to 312. See this 1 to 312 are given for voice channels. 1, 2, 3, 4, so on up to 312. And 313, see here 313, last row, 313 to 333 are given for setup channels. This last row, 313, 314, 315, 317 up to 333, they are given for setup channels. So in block A, last row is setup channels. Coming to block B, the first row, that is 334 to 354, that is 21 channels are given for setup channels. The first row for setup channels, and remaining 335 to 666 are given for voice channels. So in block A, 1 to 312 are voice channels, and the last row are setup channels. Coming to block B, the first row, that is 334 to 354 are setup channels, and from second row 355 to last number 666 are voice channels. This is how I had divided the total available 666 channels into these setup channels and voice channels. So in block A, last row setup channels. In block B, first row setup channels. What the setup channels will do? The setup channels in block A, the last row setup channels from 313 to 333, they will scan the voice channels which are idle. From this all voice channels, they will scan the idle voice channels and they will allocate for communication. And in block B, the first row from 334 to 354 setup channels, what they will do? When the call is initiated, they will scan for the voice channels which are idle. These all voice channels which are idle in block B, and they select that idle voice channel, and they will allocate for the call. So this is how the numbering is given. The total channels are divided into this type of numbering into block A and block B. This is about numbering the channels. So coming to the frequency management topic, I had told you initially that we will learn in two steps. That is, first step is numbering. The first step is numbering. So we had numbered the channels. And the second step is grouping. Grouping of channels. This grouping of voice channels into subsets. So now I will group these voice channels into subsets. So coming to grouping concept. See here, grouping into subsets. Grouping the voice channels into subsets. How I will group these channels? See, in block A, I am having 312 voice channels. 1 to 312 voice channels. Clear? So when I considered block A or system A, the total voice channels in block A are 312, 1 to 312. Now I have to group these 312 voice channels into subsets. So coming to subsets, now we group these 312 channels into 21 subsets. 21 subsets, with each subset having 16 channels. See, once again, I am repeating. Now I had started the second step, that is grouping into subsets. What I have to group? I will group the available 312 voice channels. In block A, we had 312 voice channels. So I will group these 312 voice channels into 21 subsets. 21 subsets. See, once I will show you the frequency management chart. See, in block A, I am having 1 to 312 voice channels. What I had told you in grouping of channels, the total number of voice channels in group A, that is 1 to 312, we will group into 21 subsets. These are the subsets. See here carefully. 1A, 2A, 3A, so on up to 7C. These are subsets. Subsets. So 1A, see count here 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. This number 1A to 7C. You will get 21 subsets. These are the 21 subsets. So the first subset 1A having, see here clearly, first subset 1A having 15 voice channels. That is total 16 channels. In that 15 voice channels, that is 1, 22, 43, 64, 65, 106, 127, 148, 160, 190, 211, 232, 253, 274, 295. Total 15 voice channels and 313, one setup channel. Similarly, in 2A, it is having, in 2A subset, it is having 15 voice channels, that is 2, 23, 44, 65, so on up to 295, and 314, that is setup channel, one setup channel. Similarly, in 3B, for example, in 3B, in 3B subset, it is having total 16 channels. In this, 15 are voice channels, that is 10, 31, 73, so on up to 304. These are voice channels and one setup channel, that is 322. Similarly, in 1C, 1C subset, it is having 15 voice channels and one subset. So each subset is having 16 channels. Each subset is having 16 channels. This is what we had written here. So coming to grouping, see here first point. A total number of voice channels, that is 312 voice channels I had, 1 to 312. Now we group these 312 channels into 21 subsets. 21 subsets. See here 21 subsets, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, 7A, 1B, 2B, so on up to 1C. 7C, 21 subsets. 21 subsets. 21 subsets. And with each subset having 16 channels. That is 15 voice channels and the last one is one set of channels. And this grouping is done in the order of, see here, in the order of 1A to 7A. 1A to 7A. That is total 21 subsets. I am grouping in the order of 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, 7A. That is one set. That is one set. That is 1A to 7A, 7 subsets. Similarly, 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B. That is another subset. That is 7 subsets. 1B to 7C. Similarly, 1C to 7C. 7 subsets. 1C to 7C. 7 subsets. So I am getting total 21 subsets. Total 21 subsets. So I had grouped into subsets the total number of voice channels. That is 1A to 7A, 7 subsets, 1B to 7B, 7 subsets, 1C to 7C, 7 subsets. Total 21 subsets I had divided. If I consider a 7 cell frequency reuse cell system, you already know the frequency reuse pattern. In unit 1, we had already studied. For a 7 cell frequency reuse system, it means the channels in frequency reuse system, we use the same number of channel at a far distance, at a distance away, so that to avoid interference. So if we consider a 7 cell frequency reuse system, cell system, each cell contains 3 subsets. Each cell contains 3 subsets. See here how it 3 subsets in 7 cell frequency reuse system. 7 cells means 7 cells. So 7 into 7, each cell containing containing 3 subsets. I am having 7 cells. I am having 7 cells. So each cell having 3 subsets. It means total how many? 7 into 3, 21. So 21 subsets. So if I take 7 cell frequency reuse pattern, each cell is having 3 subsets. Each cell is having 3 subsets. So total, if I am having 7 cells, so total how many? 21 subsets. So I am dividing, if I consider 7 cell frequency reuse system, I am dividing that each cell is having 3 subsets. And the subsets are arranged in the order of IA plus IB plus IC. Here I value is from 1 to 7 integer value. You can take I value as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7, any value, with 7 cell separation between the subsets to avoid interference. So I had see here second point. Once again I am repeating, in a 7 cell frequency reuse system, each cell is having 3 subsets. So in 7 cell, it is having 7 cells, each cell having 3 subsets. So total 7 into 3, 21 subsets are completed. Here these subsets are arranged in such a way in the order of 1 IA plus IB plus IC, so that it avoids interference. How it avoids interference? See, once you can observe the frequency management chart. I am taking an example of I is equal to 1. If I is equal to 1, then what I will get here? 1A plus 1B plus 1C. See, come to frequency management chart. So I am taking here I is equal to 1. For I is equal to 1, I am getting 1A, 1B, 1C. See, between 1A and 1B, I am having a separation of 7 cells. 7 cells. See, with 7 cell separation between the subsets. 7 cell separation. Between 1B and 1C, again 7 cell separation. Why I am doing the separation? To avoid interference. Again, for example, I had taken I is equal to 5. For I is equal to 5, what is the arrangement I had taken? 5A plus 5B plus 5C. So again come here, 5A and 5B. The gap between 5A and 5B, there are 7 cells. And gap between 5B and 5C, there are 7 cells. So a 7 cell separation, these are all the subsets. The first row, 1A, 1B, these are the subsets. So a 7 cell separation between the subsets. Why I am doing this 7 cell separation between the subsets? To avoid interference, adjacent interference, neighboring interference, we already learned. So to avoid interference, we are going for frequency reuse pattern in a 7 cell, so that the arrangement is done in the order of IA plus IB plus IC. Clear? This is how the subsets, the grouping, we are grouping the voice channels, 3-toll voice channels into subsets, so that to avoid interference. Now coming to the third point, and as there are 21 subsets, and in a 7 cell frequency reuse cell system, each cell consists of 3 subsets. We had already learned the same point. It had repeated the same point. That is, a total of 21 subsets are arranged or divided so that each cell containing of 3 subsets. That is 21. Each cell, that is 7 cell. For 7 cell, 7 into 3, 21 subsets. Now here the last point is, each cell will have 45 voice channels. How it will get 45 voice channels? See, I had already told you that each cell consists of 3 subsets. If each cell is containing 3 subsets, then each subset will have how many voice channels? 15 voice channels. 15 voice channels. See here, frequency management chart. Each subset will have 15 voice channels. For example, 1B, it is having 8, 29, 50, 71, 92, 113, 194, 15 voice channels. If I taken 2B, it is having 15 voice channels. If I taken 2C, it is having 15 voice channels. If I had taken 4A, it is having 15 voice channels and one setup channel. If I taken 5C, it is having 15 voice channels and one setup channel. If I taken 4B, it is having 15 voice channels and one setup channel. So based on this point, I had already told you that each cell is having three subsets. If each cell is having three subsets, then each subset will have 15 voice channels. So, for example, if I take the value, if a cell is having 1A, 1B, 1C, so 1A is having 15 voice channels, 1B 15 voice channels, 1C 15 voice channels. Total of 45 voice channels are present in each cell. Clear? This is how the grouping the voice channels into subsets. Clear? This is how the frequency management has taken. So once again, a brief explanation what we had learned today in this topic: frequency management and channel assignment. So frequency management, it is to manage the channels into, first we will divide into numbering. We will divide the total number of available channels into numbering, and after numbering we will do the grouping the channels. So before numbering and grouping the channels, first what we will do, first we have to know the concept of what is meant by setup channels and voice channels. You already know the voice channels. Setup channels means the channels which will, when a call is initiated, these setup channels will scan for the ideal voice channels which are available to allocate for the communication, to allocate for the voice channels. So first, the total available channels I had taken triple six, and I divided into block A and block B, which is having triple three channels. And these triple three channels, in the after dividing into triple three channels, according to based on type of channels, these triple six channels are divided into 42 setup channels. In this 42, 21 given for block A, 21 given for block B, and remaining 624 voice channels. That is 312 given for block A and block B is total. So finally, block A containing 21 setup channels, 312 voice channels. Block B containing 21 setup channels, 312 voice channels. So in block A, 1 to 312 are voice channels, and remaining last row 313 to 333 are setup channels. In block B, the first row 334 to 354 are setup channels, and 355 to 366 are voice channels. This we had seen in the frequency management chart. And after that, in block A, in block B, the available 312 voice channels are grouped into subsets. So how we will group? We will group in the order of IA plus IB plus IC. We will group in the order of IA plus IB plus IC. IA plus IB plus IC. So that we will avoid interference, to avoid interference. So if you take I value 5, that is 5A plus 5B plus 5C. In that way, we will avoid interference. That is, each subsets will have a separation of 7 channels. So each subset, see from the frequency management chart, each subset, these are the subsets 1A, 2A, 3A, 5A, so on up to these are the subset. Each subset is having 15 voice channels and one setup channel. 15 voice channels and one setup channel. So a total of 21 subsets. That is 1A to 7A 7, 1B to 7B 7, 1C to 7C 7. Total of 21 subsets. So in 7 cell frequency reuse pattern, each cell will containing 3 subsets. In the 3 subsets, as each subset is having 15 voice channels, so each cell will contain 15 plus 15 plus 15, 45 voice channels. Clear? This is how we will group into subsets. This is about frequency management, frequency management in numbering and grouping the total available number of channels. Okay, thank you.